You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hi, I'm Joe Heath.
I'm Toni Heath.
And this is the Watch-A-Thon of Rassilon. Today we're going to be talking about the fourth serial of the 12th season of Doctor Who, Genesis of the Daleks, which consists of 6 episodes that aired from March 8th, 1975 to April 12th, 1975.
True facts!
And I'd like to give a special shout out to Matt Golden for getting us these episodes.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
You can follow him on Tumblr at mgoldentumbles.tumblr.com. That's Tumbles without an E, because it's Tumblr. And joining us today, we have a special new guest. We haven't had a new guest in a while, I feel.
No.
Layne Henderson.
Woo! Thanks.
Layne Lexx Terminate Henderson.
Yes, that's me.
Explain that name.
Oh, that's my derby name. Because I'm Dalek obsessed, so.
If you guys remember in the previous podcast, Toni was asking for derby names. It was because of Layne and her team.
It's all entirely her fault.
It's my fault, and I'm okay with that.
So, we know you because you're our friend. I think we met you through Josh, previous guest, ages ago, probably at a con or something.
Probably the first time, yeah.
So, tell us, since it's obvious you like Doctor Who, considering your derby name, how much Doctor Who have you seen?
Well, I don't think this counts, but when I was little, I do remember it being on TV, because I remember the theme song. So, but I couldn't tell you anything about it at that point. But I've seen everything, all of the new stuff up to season 10. I'm still trying to get through 10 right now. And then about 3 years ago, I just took a whole summer and marathoned all of the originals.
Wow.
So you've seen all of them?
I've seen all of them, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wait, just in one summer?
Yeah.
Because we've been doing this for 3 years?
I would watch all day long, though, so yeah.
It's going to take us a few more years, I feel like.
I mean, there's a lot of production involved. We have to wait until we record a podcast, because if we watch too many at once... if we were to move on to the next one, I'd go to do the podcast and be like, I don't know what we're talking about.
I can see that.
Which happens some of the time anyway.
Yeah, try not to watch another serial before we record the podcast. So
you just did a whole film festival this time.
Yeah, I did. I went to the Turning of Film Festival this weekend, so I watched Genesis of the Daleks before I went to the festival, and then I saw 10 or 12 movies. And now I don't remember Genesis of the Daleks at all.
This is going to be a great episode.
Yep. Before we start talking about it, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about in the the Ark in Space episode. There's a couple of things that we talked about that people on the internet have pointed out to us, things about them.
Yes.
Does that make sense what I just said?
I didn't fully track the sentence, but I understood the meaning behind it.
Okay, cool. So the bubble wrap. We kept going on and on about the bubble wrap in Ark in Space.
Yes.
And how cheesy and obvious it is that it's bubble wrap. But some guy on Twitter said... Some guy, I could look up his name, but...
Sure.
At Steve Conway on Twitter. Brilliant podcast as always, which is a good start. It's exactly how I wanted to start. One thing, living 43 years in the future, i.e. today, it is very easy to forget that in 1975, bubble wrap was brand new, and something 99% of the audience had never seen before. It looked genuinely alien/scary at the time. While it was used in computer packaging from the 60s, it was not something regularly encountered in a domestic setting until much later. I feel like is that pedant or pedant? I never know how to pronounce that word.
It's not pedant.
Pedant now. You're not a pedant. It's pedant, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird word. I don't like it. So yeah.
For some reason, that's something that's never even occurred to me.
That bubble wrap just at one point wasn't a thing?
Yes. I just sort of assumed that it's been around since forever.
Bubble wrap
most things I'm used to today.
Bubble wrap is a universal constant. And the other thing I want to read, I also don't know how to find.
It's interesting that something like an effect no longer holds up just because we're all like, that's bubble wrap. It's the same thing where like a lot of times in like old stuff, there's like a big sci-fi dash with like a bunch of buttons and stuff. It's like 9 times out of 10 a TV switcher. And like, because of that, I'm always like, that's just a switcher. But to other people, they're like, yeah, that looks good enough. That looks pretty legit. It's weird that having like the context for it breaks the illusion, sort of.
I like to point out the special effect of coffee cups in today's TV, where they're never filled with anything.
Oh,
ever.
I feel
They're
like
just
it's
flinging them around like they're nothing.
not that hard to act like there's stuff in it either.
Every time I see a coffee cup, I'm like, nothing in that. Nope.
Just like put a little bit of water in it or something.
Something.
Or just, put a little bit of effort into acting like it's full of something. Is that rude? Is it judgmental? I'm sorry.
Well, it doesn't help that when they set the cup down, you can hear it. It's like, just edit that.
This is me definitely drinking water.
In the Ark in Space, we also were making jokes about, there's the whole thing about microfilm. And then that led into a whole conversation about us being like, send in tapes and we will
send you the
podcast on cassette tapes. And it was just a whole big thing that we were goofing around with. Lisa Parker on YouTube said in the 1990s, there were quite a few Doctor Who tape zines being produced. Listeners would send in a blank tape and the return postage. Typical running length was 90 minutes, and they were definitely proto-podcasts. So, yeah, there was tape zines, which is exactly what we were talking about. People would send out tapes for them to record the podcast, basically, on, and then they'd mail it back.
That's amazing. I'm always so impressed by, like, when humans have done things longer than it seems like technology would make them feasible, because we're inventive like that.
It's hard for me to imagine a world that existed before the internet.
I mean, I was technically alive, I guess, but I don't remember or care to. I don't care to think about it.
I'm older than you guys.
Did you send off tapes for
no
podcasts?
No. I can remember sending out VHS tapes for Mystery Science Theater, though.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you would you send out like blank tapes?
I would send blank tapes to people.
And they'd send them back. Oh, that's cool. So I guess that's the same thing. That's another good show. We should just do a watch-a-thon of MST3K.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, would it be weird to comment on a TV show that's about people commenting on movies?
A movie?
Is that too many layers?
It might be.
All right, then let's talk about Doctor Who.
Oh, shoot, yeah. I guess.
Let's dive right into Genesis of the Daleks. Episode 1, which I have called Genesis of the Khalids. Khalids?
Yeah.
Khalids.
That's it.
What's one of those two?
They probably used both ways in the in the episode. The opening of this episode is creepy.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
Little atmospheric, because it's opening on guys in gas masks.
Being shot and killed, and in slow motion.
There's a lot of death in the beginning. Lots.
Oh my gosh, this serial has a tremendous death count.
They got in trouble for it a little bit, according to Wikipedia. They got a lot of complaints, yeah. Specifically about the slow motion murder at the beginning of this particular episode.
I could see them getting complaints about this one, because this is one of the first serials that I felt, I don't want to say one of the first, but one of them that has like really, really terrified me in parts.
Yeah, this season seems to be hitting horror a little harder.
It's also like heavy, where there have been stuff that's like frightened me before, but it was kind of like a moment in like a whole serial, whereas this serial is like a particularly sort of, things are happening a lot, and they're heavy, and they're sad.
Dramatic.
And they're good.
It's kind of hard to remember while you're watching it, though, that it is in the past. Because you just think it's so relevant right now that...
That's true. Yeah, because they hit that Nazi metaphor real hard, this serial. So, but the Doctor appears in the smoke after the whole shootout happens and wanders around and bumps into a guy in a hood who is a Time Lord. Does he have a name?
I don't believe so.
Or a title? He's the smoky guy. He's Smokey, just Smokey.
Okay.
And the Doctor's the Bandit because he stole the TARDIS. No?
If you must.
And he basically gives the Doctor a task, which is, we want you to basically go back to the genesis of the Daleks. And
they said the thing!
Yeah, and fuck it up a bit.
They basically gives him two options, which is like, wipe them out, or try to just sort of change their evolution so that they're not the worst.
So they have less murder.
Yeah, they're just a little bit less murdery.
The Doctor eventually agrees to it. He's not so hip on it to at the beginning, but...
I think this is something that's being established of the Time Lords just being like, hey, go run this errand for us.
Yeah, he isn't given a choice.
Yeah, the Time Lords just want him
His
to...
TARDIS is not there. He's like,
Yeah.
you can get back to the TARDIS if I give you this ring.
This is the second serial in a row that we haven't had the TARDIS.
Oh, yeah?
It wasn't in the last one either.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Yeah, because they did that transmat thing. I think we get it back in the next serial. I'm not sure, though. I hope so. I miss the TARDIS. This feels like the first season of 3. We've seen the outside of the TARDIS this season, but we haven't seen the inside of the TARDIS yet.
Do they not have this set at this point in time?
Probably. That happens a lot. But he's like, all right, fine, I'll do it. Let me get to my TARDIS or whatever so I can get to Skaro. And they're like, surprise!
You're
You're
here."
already here! Yeah, and he gets that time ring, which is like a big old slap bracelet.
I was going to say, it's more of a bracelet than a ring.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a little bit misnamed. That's all.
I mean, it's circular.
Fair enough.
That is the definition of a ring. But it doesn't go along like your finger. It goes on your wrist.
And he was kind of like, where's Sarah and Harry?
I ask that
What
a
about
lot
them?
about Harry, because I forget he exists sometimes.
He has a bigger part in this one.
Yeah, he does.
Like in the last one, he just kind of wandered around a lot.
That's what they did to Sarah this time.
Yeah, that happens. I feel like maybe they just need to get rid of one of them, because they can't concentrate on both of them at the same time, apparently.
Okay, so here's the thing. I feel the way about Harry, the way that I felt about some previous female companions, where we're like, they're great, but like the writers aren't giving them enough to do, or they haven't really figured out their character. That's kind of how I feel about Harry, where it's like, most of the time, if Harry's doing something, I'm enjoying it, because he's pretty funny. Unless he's like, they've given him some lines where he's kind of being a dick.
Calls Sarah Jane a female chauvinist.
Yeah, he's
old
speaking
bird.
some straight 60s nonsense.
It's just weird because it's the 70s.
Shoot, yeah. My bad. We've traveled in time. Or, like I said, they just can't figure out what to do with him and figure out what to do with him in the narrative. But when they do, he's enjoyable to watch. He's usually pretty likable and funny.
If you say so.
That's my piece.
How do you feel about Harry Sullivan?
I like Harry all right.
How do you feel about Sarah Jane?
Sarah Jane I've always liked.
I've liked her before we even started watching Classic Who, because I'd seen her in New Who, and I'd watched all of Sarah Jane.
Yeah, same here.
It's really interesting getting to go back and see the establishing pieces of Sarah Jane.
Yeah. When we first started watching, I was like, she's so small.
Yeah.
She's so young.
People age, it's weird.
It genuinely startles me a lot.
But Sarah Jane and Harry do appear out of the fog, and they all sort of reunite and are immediately attacked. Bombs start going off around them. They get away from that, and they find a dead guy, one of the gas mask guys, and they're like examining him, and he has weapons and stuff, but from like different time periods. Is that right?
Yeah. Kind of his gear and his weapons is sort of a mishmash, where some of it's more futuristic and some of it's more historic.
The Doctor theorizes that it could be that they've been like warring for a while and just running out of weapons and resorting to older stuff.
They're running out of resources.
Seems like a big leap to take. I don't know. Just assume that.
Sure, but he's right.
That's true. It could have been like a
War games
situation, with like the different time zones and stuff.
But it wasn't.
The Doctor's always right, and I'm always wrong. They start walking, and the Doctor sees landmines, and then immediately proceeds to step on one.
I feel like I learned something in this. I didn't know how landmines worked. Or is this actually how landmines work?
It's
think so.
always been my understanding of that's how they work. But
Propped it up, though? He was propping it up in order to let the Doctor lift his foot off of the landmine.
Yeah, I think it's like a pressure thing.
yeah, as long as there's pressure.
If it moves, it explodes.
Yeah. I don't know.
I thought maybe it was the moving thing.
To be perfectly fair, all of my understanding of landmines comes from TV and movies. So if that's a Hollywood thing, I wouldn't know.
Usually it's more hidden. It's not just on a rock.
Yeah, he should not have stepped on that. Because first of all, they knew there were landmines. They were looking out for him, and the Doctor was like, walk behind me, everybody. Mm-hmm. So, because if I've already walked there, you're good.
And immediately goes, whoops.
His reaction to it is pretty fantastic, though.
I stepped on a landmine.
I always thought there was a button on the top, and then if you released the button, it exploded.
That's kind of what I thought, too. I don't know if it's less a button and more just
the top of it.
Pressure. Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like if you
don't either.
You shove it down and then you shove it up and it like jolts and then explodes.
Let's hope we never find out.
we could Google it, but let's just theorize some more. But yeah, Harry crawls down there and does stuff, and it's fine.
Which is a thing for Harry Sullivan to do. Yay!
Yay! they finally get it off and walk away, and then it's revealed that this weird person in a very odd outfit is watching them.
Do you want to describe that outfit?
He's like wearing a hood.
From up behind them on the cliff.
It's like this weird gray bumpy thing that he's wearing, and he's got like a very big arm, because it's later revealed that they're mutants. Or mutos. Which I feel is like a slur, right?
I was going to say, I always feel very uncomfortable when I'm like, that's clearly being used as a slur.
It's like very clearly something derogatory that the Khalids call them. Then they find a domed city, and they head towards it, and there's a trench near it that is full of dead people. So much death. They're just sort of propped up, too, to make it look like they're still alive, to, like, scare people off.
At first I didn't realize they were dead, and then...
The doctor's like, yeah, they're dead. They're just propped up to make it look like they can fight, I guess. And I'm like, that's messed up. This is a family show. Calm down, Doctor Who.
It's not going to. It's just going to get worse from here.
Then they get gassed and attacked.
They have to take the masks off the dead bodies.
Yeah.
Which is... intense.
But the people in the fort come out. I don't remember who it is, but it's the people in the gas masks come out and attack them. And then the people in the fort come out and attack the people in the gas masks. And then they take the Doctor and Harry inside the fort. But they leave Sarah Jane. I guess they just missed her. They didn't see her.
She was kind of around the corner and not conscious.
I think she was buried in corpses.
Yeah.
Oh no! Is she still on the yellow slicker at this point?
Yes.
It was really
don't
bright.
know where the word slicker just came from. I don't.
That's the right word.
I know, but I've never used it before in my life.
It's correct and apt.
All right. It's very cute, that's all. I know I mentioned it in the last episode. It's still really cute, though.
Sarah Jane has some good outfits.
In an episode coming up where they just find some clothes in, like, a cubby just so they can give her another cute outfit. Like, it's the only reason why.
I actually read why they did that. Because they filmed the next serial before they filmed this serial.
Ah.
And they were like, oh, we should just have her match. So they gave her her outfit from the next serial in this serial. Time travel! So.
It's a cute little camo thing, by the way.
Wait, the camo thing she's in at the end?
Yeah.
Oh, I did notice that was really cute.
That is something interesting about this season. It's every serial...
They're all following.
Yeah, continues from where the last one sort of left off. So they have to wear the same outfit through everything.
It makes wardrobe's life probably
This is
easier.
like the longest day for them. I wonder what the actual like amount of time in universe would be.
I'm sure you could find, like...
Some nerd who's thought it out.
Yeah, an actual really detailed timeline.
Because, like, it's been pretty much consistent ever since the end of Robot, once Harry steps in the TARDIS, that it's been an ongoing event. There's been no, like, taking naps or going to bed or anything.
I just get so concerned where I'm like, you guys need to lay down. You've had a real long day. You've had like 3 adventures and like haven't stopped yet.
So they get taken inside the fort, and then they get put on this little tiny minecart thing that I liked.
I like that too.
Just shoved through a little tunnel, and they're brought to some Khalids, is what they're called, right?
Yes.
And are interrogated. They're Nazis. They have like armbands. They wear all black though. That's when they sort of exposition dump a little bit. Well, I'll get it. They're interrogating the Doctor, but I feel like they say more stuff than the Doctor does.
Yeah, they're not great at it.
Yeah, because they name drop the Mutos, and they ask the Doctor to empty his pockets, which is always fun.
I will never be tired of that gag. It's the best. The idea that the Doctor's pockets are just bigger on the inside, and they're always full of random crap, is the best idea anyone in Doctor Who has ever had, and every time they do it again, I'm happy.
When he's emptying his pockets, he's sort of taking time to examine their big war map thing and figure out what they're doing. When this scene started, it started on a close-up of this map, which is it's like one of those...
It's got like little models all over it.
And it's like little square blocks with X's and O's on them. For a half second, I was like, man, the budget dropped dramatically for this serial. I thought it was an actual establishing shot of like a mountainous region. And then it pulled back. I was like, oh, it's a model. It's
supposed to look like that. Good.
But yeah, the Khalids are basically like, we want to kill all the Thals. And they also think that the Doctor and Harry are Thals. Actually, at one point, they think they might be Thal robots. That didn't really go anywhere. I was expecting a Thal robot at some point, but we never
You're right.
did.
Now it kind of gets dropped.
I can't remember the Thals in this. Are they very blonde and handsome?
Do you know they're not? They don't have the same sort of blonde supermodel thing going on that they have in the future.
I guess it's mostly because they're in war at this point. They all are still blonde, though, right?
I feel like there are some that aren't.
I don't think they are all blonde.
Yeah. I did notice that in, the very first Dalek story where we hear about the Thals, they say how the Thals were all the warriors and the Khalids were all the scientists. And that's, very clear here is that you have, a warrior people and a scientist people.
Right. I don't think they actually call them Khalids until this serial.
Do they not?
I don't think so. I mean, they're just called Daleks. Because, spoilers, it's Dalek backwards.
Oh, man, thanks for catching me up on that.
You're welcome. If you didn't know, mind blown. The doctor is, studying the map. Mm-hmm. And I think he has, I don't remember what he had. He has something in his hand, and you point at stuff on the map stick. You know that technical term?
Yeah, the mapstick pointer.
The mapstick pointer, yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
And he's like, well, what's all this then? And then, smacks the gun out of the Khalid's hand, conveniently into Harry's hand. It flies across the room to Harry, and then they sort of take over the room, and the doctor's going around sonicking all their equipment and blowing it up. They're like, take us to your leader or something. I don't know. They're like, take us somewhere important. This room sucks. The main Khalid takes them away. But then this, other Khalid shows up, and they pretend like they're being, taken prisoner, even though they're the ones that are... You know what I mean? It's a whole thing.
Oh, man. You are great at this
great
whole
at
radio
this.
thing.
Yeah. Okay. So, the Khalid guy takes the doctor and Harry away. They bump into another Khalid, but the doctor
and Harry make him pretend like everything's fine.
Yeah. But this guy's not an idiot and catches on pretty quickly, and they start shooting at them.
Yes.
This guy is he reminds me a lot of the big bad in War Games, with his slick back hair and his small wire rim glasses.
I still really need to get a pair like that. I just want to look.
Do you want to look like a villain?
Absolutely. I absolutely want to look like some sort of supervillain.
This guy's name is Niter.
That's an evil sounding name. I don't think there's anybody named Niter who's a super fun pal.
He is a bad guy, but he turns out to be less of a bad guy than you'd think.
Not a super fun pal, though.
No. But alarms start sounding, and they go on the run. Doctor and Harry get in an elevator, which takes them to the surface, which there's no door, a room around them. When it hits the surface, they're just on a platform. And I thought that was weird. It's just a weird platform in the middle of the desert or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
It's hidden.
It's not really. It's a giant, silver thing in the middle of the desert that they're just standing on. That feels unsafe. I need walls. It feels too open.
What are you afraid of?
That the elevator stops and it, jiggles and then I fall down and roll to my death.
I feel in, a wartime, they all have bigger fears than tripping down the side of a mountain.
But they were being chased and shot at, and they run, and Harry straight up pulls a tripwire, trips over a tripwire, and causes an explosion. But it's apparently a really poorly set up tripwire because it does absolutely nothing.
They're fine.
But then they immediately get surrounded by Khalids. Also, yeah, like you said, Sarah Jane sort of...
Sarah Jane is also here.
Yeah, she just wanders around a lot. Where is everybody?
But she does it in a cute slicker, so it's fine.
And she's being followed by the Mutos. I still feel weird saying that.
It just feels rude.
It does. It feels bad. I feel like I should apologize to them. But I don't know what else to call them. But she's being followed by them while all this other stuff is happening with the Doctor and Harry. Niter talks to the Khalid guy and sort of name drops Davros. And says that Davros needs equipment. And gives him a big list of stuff to get him.
Did you know Davros was going to be in this?
Yeah, someone spoiled me. Oh. Did you know Davros was going to be in it?
Yes, because I've seen parts of this serial before.
I kind of figured Davros was in it because it's called Genesis of the Daleks, so I figured it was sort of an origin story, and I know that Davros is attached to that.
What did you think of his design?
Cool. Yeah, it's really good prosthetic. And he's got that little blinking eyeball.
It goes out halfway through it.
Does it?
I didn't notice. Oh no!
It stops being lit up. And I was just like, I don't know if that's on purpose.
Probably not. But there's a surprising amount of articulation in the face, considering that's a lot of makeup. I wonder if how well he can see, too. I don't know. Because it looks like...
I don't think he could see. Because when he tried to flip switches...
He kept missing.
His hand always moves so slowly towards those switches.
Which works as kind of like a, sickly person who's got like a life support chair. But probably was just because he couldn't see.
Because, that's what happens is Sarah Jane runs away from the Mutos and bumps into Davros' like training area. I don't know, where he's... Because it's just like this little cave. You see the Davros for the first time. It's not even like a very dramatic reveal. He's just sort of sitting there. Just like waiting for the guy to bring him stuff. And then he does a demonstration or like a test with the Dalek. We see the Dalek for the first time.
Yeah, that's more of the big reveal.
Daleks! Oh no.
There are Daleks in this.
In this serial that's called Genesis of the Daleks. Surprise! But that's the end of episode 1. We are now into episode 2, which I've called The Dual Escape, and I don't remember why. So we'll find out. Sarah Jane hides from the Dalek, but is surrounded by Mutos. They straight up, circle her and, encase her.
It's a little terrifying.
A little creepy. Meanwhile, the doctor is brought in to the Khalids and asks for some tea or coffee, because they're very bored and thirsty. But they scan them. They put them through this, big metal detector thing, and it goes off, and they take off the doctor's slap bracelet. I'm just going to call it the slap bracelet.
I mean, it has a name, and the name is Time Ring.
Yeah, his time slap bracelet. It doesn't slap, though. It's just it looks like it's made out of copper or something.
I was going to say,
it looks like a big bracelet made out of a smashed penny.
It looks like something I would have made in, my welding class. It's just a piece of metal that's all wrapped up.
But the doctor's like, oh, no, I need that. That's important. But it is taken away from him. Meanwhile, a couple of dudes fight over Sarah Jane because they're like, she's a norm.
She's a normie. Must be killed.
And one of the other Mutos is like, no, she's cool.
His argument is like, don't you think our rule about killing people might be rude?
And he's like, no, it's not rude. And I want to kill you because you're questioning me. And they get into a fight, but they stop when they hear someone else coming. And that guy, the one who wants to kill Sarah Jane, gets killed himself by the Thals.
Problem solved.
And then the Thals are like, gather everybody else up here. We need free labor. So, slave labor, basically.
What are they working on?
They're radiation
things.
Stuff. Yeah, they're moving
They're moving things to the rocket.
Yes, they're moving things to the rocket. They're working on the rocket, which is their big super weapon.
And they're all getting sick from it too, basically, because it's not shielded, right? So there's radiation and stuff.
That's why they're using slave labor to do it, because they're like,
we don't have enough suits. We don't
have time for safety, so you'll just die. That's fine.
So the doctor is brought to a scientist. There's a great scene where he's like, they basically have said that they're aliens. And the scientist is like, aliens aren't real.
Our scientist said so, and he's the smartest guy I know.
And then he looks at some, paperwork, and he's like, oh, shit, you are an alien. The test came in. You are the father. No, he's like, but you don't look like an alien. And the doctor says something like, can't always judge by external appearances. So they sort of get that guy on their side. A little bit.
I think what's really fun about his character is that his sort of entryway into being a sympathetic character is just his scientific curiosity. Instead of just being like, well, you're a prisoner and I don't care and blah, blah, blah. Which is a character that's on Doctor Who a lot. He's like, you're an alien? What does that even mean? Oh my god, we have got to I've got to run some tests and learn what I can because that's crazy. The reaction that you should have to meeting an alien. Which is because a lot of times in Doctor Who it's like, you're the doctor, you're an alien, but also you're a nuisance. So we're just going to imprison you.
I think both of those opinions are valid.
Fair enough. It's fun to watch someone react to meeting, an alien and have an intense scientific curiosity about it when that's not a reaction to the doctor you get all of the time. Especially from somebody who's pretty much set up as being on the bad side.
Do you think that's just because he looks normal? He looks like a human, so...
If it was
you're not serious.
You don't look like a Muto, so you're fine. But Davros comes in to show them his Dalek, which the Doctor calls it a Dalek. And everybody else is like, what's a Dalek? It's not a Dalek. It's a mobile moving device 3. I don't remember the name of it.
Yes, it was definitely
a
mobile
3.
moving.
Mobile moving device.
It's the
3.
mobile moving travel machine that moves.
3. You gotta remember the 3. I don't remember what it's called, but it had a 3 in the title somewhere.
Do you think it was like transportation device?
Yeah.
Something like that.
3.
He's like, shows them that it's like voice controlled. He's like, turn left, and it turns left. And he's like, turn right, and it turns right. And he's like, cha-cha now. And then they cha-cha.
Real smooth.
Real smooth, yeah. Then they open up this big case, and they're like, now to give it a weapon. And we get to see the laser gun thing.
Being loaded onto it.
For the first time.
Did that feel like super dangerous to you?
Yes.
I sometimes feel like dumb things hit home for me. Especially with like Daleks, where I'm like, oh no. And then I wonder if I'm just like much more invested, and it was actually kind of silly.
No, I think it was fine. It was a little scary that they're putting a gun on this robot. It would have been less scary if it was like, and now here's the plunger. Just dramatically open up, and there's just a regular bathroom plunger in there.
And everyone's like, I have some questions about that design.
Why does no one question that they're putting a gun on a transportation device?
I mean, because they're at war.
Yeah.
Okay, good point.
I think at this point, they've been at war for so long, it's like the only thing that any of them know.
They just put guns on everything.
Yeah.
Here, Fido, here's your gun. So, but they put the gun on him, and then he's like, oh yeah, and guess what? I've given it free will and intelligence. And like, it scans Harry and the Doctor, and it's like, they're aliens, must exterminate, and like points its gun at them. But then the scientist guy runs over and is like, no, these are aliens.
I gotta do science!
And he like goes up to Davros's little mobile wheelchair thing.
Yeah,
and
He
flips the
switches
switch.
it off, yeah.
Yeah.
He fights Davros in order to keep the Doctor from getting dead.
And Davros is not happy. His voice is sort of like the Daleks, so he's got that like mechanical-ish thing, but he doesn't always, all the time,
It's just
except
when
when
he
he's
gets
angry.
angry, yeah.
He emotes, which is... I mean, I understand why it's a thing you don't want a Dalek to do, but it's much easier to hear dialogue.
It's nothing worse than a Dalek talking to a Dalek.
Just like giving exposition. It's awful.
Ugh. So loud and angry constantly. So it's nice to have that, but also more nuanced.
Davros is a good addition to the Daleks. I guess it gives them a human element, sort of.
It gives them a better voice.
Yeah. Most importantly, yes.
But the scientist kind of doesn't really get in trouble because he's like, listen, I just want to question these two guys before you kill them.
He definitely...
It's reprimanded.
Yeah, I think it's implied that, like, he's going to be punished. But right now, he can't be bothered. Davros can't be bothered to punish him.
So they take Harry and the Doctor to a cell. Then that's when the whole thing happens with Sarah Jane and the Rocket. There's like a core 3 group. It's Sarah Jane, it's the Muto that wanted to save her, and a Khaled that are all sort of working together, moving stuff around. I don't even know what it was.
Just doing slave
hasn't-
work.
That Muto actually did get a name. I can't remember what it was, though.
Carl.
Was it?
I don't
No.
know.
It was something.
Carl.
It was something.
I should have looked it up so I could stop saying Muto. So the Doctor and the scientist have a scene together because the scientist is confused about how the Doctor knew that they were called Daleks because they just get named.
Yes.
And he's like,
It's like just been announced.
that they're going to be called Daleks, and he's like, hey, how did you know that was going to happen? What are you, a time traveler?
Is he?
He is. Spoilers, the Doctor is a time traveler. Basically, this is the whole scene where the scientist is like, I don't agree with Davros. He seems to be doing his own thing, and he's going a little...
He's been a little intense, a little weird. I think...
The scientist is worried that Davros is going to basically destroy their race for this new race of the Daleks. And he's not cool with that. Because he feels like, he's also like, I'm not sure if it's at this point, but it's like, he's causing evolution that gets rid of important things.
Yes, because basically what it is the science is sketchy, where it's like, being exposed to this radiation, this is what we'll evolve into, which isn't how evolution works, but okay. But he kind of finds out that Davros has made all these changes to take away, compassion and emotion and all the things that the Daleks don't have. And that's something that Davros did artificially. It's not a natural part of their evolution. Kind of what Davros has been doing is he's like, this is what we're going to evolve into, so I'm going to figure out how to make it work. And then tinkered with that evolution to fit his idea of what the supreme being would be.
She's a giant tin can.
An angry trash bin. There are scientists, there are colleagues who are not cool with that, who are like, maybe, emotions are important. We shouldn't become Daleks. I don't know, it's nice to see sort of a nuanced, instead of just having them like, these are all the villains. There are bad guys, and then they're like, kind of bad guys. And also, like, the Thals aren't all great. Whereas when we saw them way, way, way in the future, it was like the Daleks and the Thals are just like these little model frightened bunnies. And like, they're the good guys and versus the Daleks. Whereas now we have like the Thals, who are dicks, and the Khalids, who are dicks. But not like totally evil dicks yet.
It's an evolution of dicks.
Yeah. They're both flawed people at war. Nobody's at their best when they're at war, I don't think.
Right, it's not so black and white.
It's not very often that you get a Dalek story with nuance. I say not very often. That's not true. I take it back. But it is in this one and I like it.
The last, I'd say, 3, maybe 4 Dalek serials we've had have been pretty bad, I feel like. I did not like a single Dalek serial in the Third Doctor's run. Because they all were basically the same exact story. So it's nice getting something a little different. Which is actually something I was reading about when they approached Terry Nation to write this serial. He wrote up a treatment or whatever. And they were like, yeah, this is too similar to every single one of your other stories. Maybe go back and do the origin. So he's like, okay, and he came up with Davros and all that stuff. And I think that was a really good idea because it's different. We're getting new stuff instead of the same story beats that we've gotten in the past few Dalek serials.
And this serial is so much better for it.
So the scientist takes the Doctor and Harry to see the evolved Khalids evolving into the Daleks, which is they just look through a door and it's like glowing green lights and they're like, oh my god, it's gross.
You just hear like squishy noises coming from inside and like you see their horrified faces. It's bad.
Okay, now I know why it's called Dual Escape. At roughly the same time, the Doctor, Harry, and the scientist are plotting an escape. There's this cave system they're going to go escape into. And he's like, the only thing you got to worry about is there's some mutated animals in there. Be safe. At the same time, Sarah Jane and...
I need to talk about it.
We'll get there.
Okay.
But Sarah Jane and the Muto guy and the Khaled are also planning an escape.
Yes.
So they're both planning escapes. They don't see the creature you're thinking about doesn't happen until the next episode. We'll get there.
So I gotta be patient.
The first creature they see in the cave is actually... first one they see is actually just they glimpse it and like it's in the cave and it sort of wanders away. That is an Ice Warrior costume that they've reused. So I don't think it's supposed to be an Ice Warrior, but...
it's just supposed to be a creature.
You know, they're like, we got this costume. Just throw it on. But they're going through the caves. Sarah Jane and all of them are climbing up the rocket scaffolding.
Yeah, I really like this scene because I like that. I always like when you have like one character who's like, I haven't been beat down by anything yet. Let's escape. And then you have all the other characters who are like, no, because then we'll get dead. And then, they convince them all. And the scaffolding is an amazing set piece. It's this big orange... scaffolding, that's what it is. But I think it actually had to be, like, fairly tall. It wasn't like they had, like, a foot of it and everybody's pretending to climb up it.
They had a decent amount. They definitely, like,
climbed the same... Yeah. But it feels really tall. It feels like they're climbing it forever when they're climbing it.
And they're being shot at the whole time.
The whole scene's very tense and very effective. And I really like that set piece, really like that scene.
They're being shot at.
They're getting tired, which is you don't always see enough sometimes, or you have somebody doing something where they're like climbing and they're being action-y.
Yeah, and Sarah's having a problem climbing at all.
Yeah.
She can't pull herself up.
Which is real. How I would
be. Just like, I'll just lay here. You guys escape.
Joe would be like, I'm just gonna die.
I wouldn't go along with it anyway because I'm afraid of heights.
That's true.
Like, is there not like an underground escape route we can take?
Could we take a tunnel?
But the Khaled guy gets shot, and then Sarah Jane's climbing up, and then falls.
Yeah.
And then it freeze frames, and that's the cliffhanger. I don't think we've ever had a freeze frame cliffhanger.
That fall looked... I mean, I was sold on it. It looked like it hurt.
That's the end of episode 2. Freeze frame. We are now into episode 3, which I have called The Cave of Clams.
Okay, well, you already said it, so it's time for me to talk about it now.
Well, do we want to say Sarah Jane's fine?
No, they know.
She falls like 2 feet and hits it like
another beam and...
gets out, and then she's fine.
Yeah. When they say, don't go into the cave, or be careful going into the cave, because there's a bunch of mutated animals, that sounds pretty scary. Because, like, nobody wants to run into, like, a mutant wolf, or, like, a mutant... I don't want to run into a regular octopus, but a mutant octopus would definitely, like, wreck your shit. What
Even
else?
like a mutant dog or mutant cat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because, like, if a regular cat is mad at you, that's pretty scary. If it's got some sort of ambiguous mutations where you don't know what's up, terrifying. There are very few things that I can think of that aren't terrifying, even mutated, but a clam is definitely on that list.
It's a giant clam that doesn't move.
But Harry still steps right into it.
Yeah, you have to, otherwise the scene doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't work, but it works less.
I have to imagine that was one of those scenarios where, you know, the writer wrote something.
This is great.
Yeah, they were like, mutant animals? Okay, well, we have large clams from something else, so that's what you can have.
I'd even be okay with the clams if they, like, put them on wheels or something and, like, rolled them around a bit so, like, the clam's moving.
So they felt a little scary?
Yeah, but they just sit there. And they're like, oh no, clams! And walk right over to it.
I didn't have as much of a problem with the clams as I did with the doctor getting a rock and just beating the top of it. Like, the obvious armor of the animal.
Hit it where it's most sensitive. Right at the rocky top.
Yeah.
He's probably just like, what is this? Who decided to mutate clams? And then she's just confused and
What
disoriented.
function could this possibly have? I did really like, I mean, when they first showed up in the cave and there were, like, giant clams everywhere, I was like, that's a friend! Look at that clam friend! And everyone in the chat, because we do streams, and everyone in the chat was like, not a friend, not a friend!
So you would get eaten by the clams.
Oh,
just because you'd be like,
probably.
oh, who's a big baby?
Lose some
Chomp.
fingers that way.
They actually, like, pry it open. Like, doesn't he, like, the doctor, like, breaks off a piece of the...
A piece of the cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a stalagmite or a stalactite?
The top one.
Stalactite. T for top, G for ground. Right?
They both had
Well,
Gs.
stalactite. Stalagmite. They don't both have G's. Stalactite. Right?
What? Absolutely not. Stalac is not a thing.
I'm not gonna guess.
There's either tight or mite, but they both are stalag.
No, it's stalag and stalac.
Shut up.
Ah!
Boom.
I've been wrong about that my whole life. Stalag and stalac?
C for ceiling, G for ground.
Huh.
Not T for top, that was dumb. But C for ceiling, G
T
for
for top
ground.
works.
It's a twofer. It's a C for ceiling and a T for top.
My whole worldview has just shifted. Stalag.
You have cave conversations a lot, don't you?
Well, we've been doing Doctor Who for 3 years, so
So,
yeah. To go back a little bit, Sarah Jane's climbing up the scaffolding. I don't know why I'm miming it all.
Yeah, no one can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, patrons can see it. Hey, patrons.
But normal people, or people just listen. Not normal people.
Normies.
Normies. Yeah. The normies listening to this podcast. People who are listening to the podcast can't see me just violently clawing the air. But they climb up the thing. They get to the top of the scaffolding. There's like a small gap between that and the rocket. And
A very small gap.
the Thals catch up to them. And like, they dangle Sarah Jane off of the gap. I was terrified. I was
Does that
very
trigger
upset.
your fear of heights?
Yes.
Oh.
I was just like, leave her alone. What's wrong with you?
It is definitely, like, it's shown to be, like, this is particularly sadistic. It's not, like, something that, like, is being done for any real reason other than that guy's an ass.
Right, because he could just, like, capture her and take her away, but he's like, nope, I'm going to dangle you and scare the shit out of you. That's not cool. I don't like it. But yeah, they capture everybody. So that escape scene didn't lead to anything.
Yeah.
Just killed some time.
I mean, it was neat.
It was neat.
And, like, they got to use that really cool scaffolding.
So then the whole thing with the clam happens, and they get away, and they're trying to... There's like a doorway that's got bars on it, and they're trying to open them up so they can get out of there.
You wouldn't even be scared if it was a really big clam. Really big.
You know,
it's really big.
Here's the thing. If it's coming towards me, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm absolutely terrified of that thing.
Maybe if you're in the water.
If it's over there hanging out and I'm over here, I'm not about it. I'm not happy about it. I'm not glad that it's there, but I'm not afraid because I'm just gonna... I feel like it's one of those rules where it's like, if I ignore it, it'll ignore me. But yeah, if a clam that large is coming for me, that is terrifying. Fair enough.
You know what I don't like? I don't like the clams in Super Mario 64 that have like, they like open up and they have like coins and stuff inside them and you gotta swim in there to get it and they close on you. I always get hit by them every time because you gotta like swim in and not bump them. But I can't control Mario under the water, so I always bump into the clam and it hits me. And then Mario goes, "Ooh!" and spins and like blinks out of existence. That's weird. When he gets hurt, he blinks out of existence to let you know pain. But like, where does he go? Does he just turn invisible, or is he going somewhere? The pain dimension.
Oh.
The pain dimension, Jesus.
I don't know, I've never thought about that until just now. But he blinks. He like, whoop, whoop, when he gets hurt.
I don't know, I never played Mario.
Did you have a childhood?
Yeah, I just went outside. That's not true, I just played Tony Hawk.
So...
I just got to your note that says, Davros is cool.
What?
Oh.
With the investigation. Okay, so, the doctor and Harry get to another dome. Is it the Thalls that he gets to? I want to say it's the Thalls. He gets to, like, some big group of people and is like, hey, this is the Daleks and why they're bad. Here's my PowerPoint presentation. And they're like, that sounds legit. But he gives, like, the future history? Time travel's weird.
I guess it could be.
Yeah, he just tells them what the Daleks are going to do. No, actually, I think he talks to the Khalids.
Trying to convince them that
to stop working on the Daleks.
Yes.
Like the head of the Khalids, the council. There's always a council. And the council decides that they're not going to stop the experiments completely, but they're going to suspend it for a while and investigate it. Davros is cool with the investigation, but he's like, I need 24 hours to turn off some stuff. You can't just, like, flip some switches. That'll be bad. You gotta do it scientifically and safely. Which is him basically just trying to buy time to do nefarious deeds. So he's like, I need 24 hours. And they're like, you've got 12. We don't like safety. But Davros reveals, I don't remember where, but my note says he has a plan to kill all the Khalids. So he was gonna kill everybody. The Khalids want to kill the Thalls, and Davros wants to kill everybody.
Basically, I mean, because basically what happens is he goes back to the Thalls and is like, you know that big missile you're working on? It won't work because I built a force field. Davros is a mean 4-year-old. Force field! I have a force field. But he's like, but I'll make sure that it's down and you can kill all of them. And they're like, why would you do that? And he's like, I'm just so about peace that I want the war to be over, even if it means you kill literally everyone I know. Because he really doesn't care as long as the Daleks survive. At this point, he's like, if the Daleks...
And he's been putting them in the machines at this point, too.
Yes, if the Daleks live on, that's all he cares about.
So the Doctor and Harry are sneaking around. They've found out that Sarah Jane is being forced to do the rocket stuff. So they've snuck around. They're trying to find her and to warn the Khalids about, Davros's betrayal, basically. Because they overheard that whole spiel. But there's a great bit where they need to sneak into a place, and there's like these two guys in uniforms or whatever, and the Doctor just comes up and goes, "Can you help me? I'm a spy," and then knocks him out. And then they do the thing where they put on the outfits, the radiation outfits, and they go into the rocket, and then Harry and Sarah Jane run out, and the Muto. They're going to go to the Khalid dome and warn them about Davros' plan to blow him up with the rocket. And the Doctor's like, I'm going to stay here and mess with the rocket and disable it. But he goes over to the rocket and he's fiddling with stuff. And one of the guards that they knocked out wakes up because why didn't they just drag him somewhere? They just bumped him on the head and that's good enough. But the guard wakes up and presses a button, and the doctor, like, clings to the scaffolding, and it starts getting electrocuted. There's an electrocution button.
Yeah, when we were watching it, you were like, well, why didn't they just use that the first time?
That they were climbing up the scaffolding?
Yeah, and everyone was like, clearly they put it in after the escape attempt. Like, that's not happening again.
That makes sense. And that is the cliffhanger. I don't think it was originally supposed to be the cliffhanger, but things got shifted around. That's the end of episode 3, and we are now into episode 4, which I have called The Day of Davros. The doctor is taken away. He's, like, unconscious. But he wakes up, and he sees the dome being attacked. The Khaled dome. And the rocket gets fired. And does it hit the dome? Does it destroy it?
A bunch of people die.
The doctor's like, oh no, I just sent Sarah Jane and Harry there. I guess they're dead. The Thals celebrate, and all of the prisoners they have will be freed because everybody's in such a good mood.
I think, actually, it's a really good line that the, like, Thal leader has, where he's like, let us show that where we were dicks in war, we're merciful in peace. He didn't say dicks, but that was the gist. Yeah, so he says that line, and he frees the prisoners, and that includes...
the doctor. And then the doctor has this sort of conversation with this one Thal, who, like, says that Davros is a hero for doing this. And he's like, no, he's not. He's still bad. And this Thal becomes, like, a recurring Thal. I mostly remember because she's kind of cute.
You know?
She's got the... She does have the blonde
or she's the only other female.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. She's eventually going to lead a bit of a revolution.
Thing. I mean, I think the last time we saw the Thals, there was just the one female Thal.
The Smurfette
yeah.
Thal. But while the Thals are having a party, the Daleks come in and crash it and start attacking. So the doctor and that one Thal escape. The doctor protects her, and they get away. Basically, he's like telling her, you guys need to fight Davros. Davros is bad. And then
he told her to start a resistance, didn't he?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Start the revolution. So they split up, and she's going to go do that. And the doctor gets grabbed by Mutos, but Harry and Sarah Jane save him. And then they say that they didn't go to the dome because they were stopped by the Mutos. So they're like, well, we need to go back to the bunker, the Khaled bunker, which is separate from the dome, I guess.
Right, because we have some characters that we still need. I do think it was...
That's where, like...
the bunkers where, like, the elites were.
That's where, like, Davros' whole team is. The scientists and stuff. They're in the bunker, which is separate from the dome. The dome had all the... Actually, the dome had all the elites, I think. Like, the council and the higher-ups.
Oh, okay.
And that got blown up. But, like, the scientists and stuff that are working on the Daleks, they're all fine in the bunker. It's all making sense now that I'm thinking about it. So they need to go back there because they have the time ring. They need to get the time ring to get out. Meanwhile, most of the scientists are basically teaming up against Davros, including... Oh, wait. I said he was not as bad of a guy as you think, but it turns out he is as bad as you think. I forgot there was a double switch.
He's just as bad as you think.
Because they're like, the scientists are like, we don't like Davros, we should do something.
Is that the same character?
Yeah, Niter overhears them. Like, slick back hair guy with the glasses. Okay, so Niter is like, overhears it. And like, he's like, oh no, that's bad. He's gonna go tell Davros or something. But then Niter is like, no, listen, I'm not happy with Davros either. Severin? Is that the Muto's name?
Yes.
Maybe.
Because it said, my note says doctor and group get in the cave. Yeah, they all go in the cave and they're getting back into the bunker. And the doctor says, hey, Severin, the Muto, go team up with Smurfette Thal. And he's like, okay, cool. And leaves. And then they go in the bunker. Harry almost walks into another clam.
I mean, to be fair, how harsh can we be with Harry when the serial started with the doctor stepping on an actual landmine?
Also, yesterday, I kicked my toe into our table over there and got really mad because it hurt really bad.
And then did
like
it again.
10 minutes later, I kicked it in the exact same place, the exact same way. My pinky toe still kind of hurts.
So if our coffee table was a clam,
I'd be dead. Everyone does their best to try to act scared of it, too. They're, oh, no! They should have just cut that right out. Niter has told the head scientist guy, let's meet up. They meet up. Sort of Niter's like, so who all's on your team? Give me names. Like, but in a way that's like, we're friends. we're all friends. Let me know who all the other friends are so we can high-five each other in the hallways. And the scientist just dumbly says all of them, and then Davros appears, and they knock him out, and they're going to experiment on his brain, because it turns out Niter was evil all along.
Oh, man. I knew it. I was right. I was right not to trust him.
It's not in my notes, but at some point the doctor gets captured. I don't know where or when. So they tie the doctor up, and they put him in this chair, and Davros basically forces the doctor. He's like, tell me about the Daleks, since you're from the future and everything.
Since you're from the future, you have all this future knowledge about the Daleks. Tell me all my design flaws right now. So that I can fix them before they become a problem. Which I never really thought about, but I guess that's how they don't need static electricity, like, the next couple of times they fight them.
Maybe. They don't use static electricity here at all, either. But I'm wondering if that's just because it's an early design, and maybe it doesn't need static electricity at this point.
I think maybe at some point they were just like...
That was a dumb limitation.
Yeah, that's a weird limiting idea that's hard to write, so we're just gonna ignore it.
But the doctor doesn't want to say anything. He refuses. But Harry and Sarah Jane are also, like, locked on a table. And he's like, I'm going to hook you up to basically like a lie detector. And if you don't tell me the truth, it's going to shock them. It's going to hurt them. So you better tell me everything. And that's the cliffhanger.
That's rough.
And that is the end of episode 4. We are now in episode 5, which I have called History of the Daleks, or The Surrender of Davros. I had two there, and I didn't know which one I liked more. So yeah, then the Doctor sort of recaps some past episodes, in a little montage, and like, I think he even says stuff that we haven't seen as well, like alludes to stuff that we've not seen the Daleks do. Could be wrong, but I think most of it's stuff we've seen before, but there might be some new bits added in. My next note just says, Davros wants to hang. What does that even mean?
He was going to kill someone, but they weren't going to use bullets because bullets were in such short supply.
That sounds right.
Was that it?
Sure.
Did he say he was going to hang them?
Yes! That makes more sense than what I was thinking. Which is like, Davros is like, hey, you wanna chill? You wanna hang out?
You wanna come over to my house for some Netflix and chill?
So, Doctor, now that I've finished torturing you, you wanna get a coffee or something? I just bought Doctor Who Flux, and I haven't had a chance to play it yet. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. I'm glad you're here. So, Sarah Jane and Harry are taken away and locked in a cell with a scientist, a different scientist, but he's also like, fuck Davros! And then they team up. Then the Doctor and Davros have a big scene together. It's your typical hero-villain, just chit-chatting scene.
Just your typical hero-villain hang.
And Davros says when the Daleks rule, there will be peace. Just because everybody else will be dead, and the Daleks all get along with each other. Which is a weird view, I feel like.
It's pretty evil, as far as worldviews go.
And then the Doctor's like, would you let a virus rule everything? Like, if there was a virus that, like, destroyed everything, and you had it in a vial, and you know it's going to destroy everything, kill everything, would you let it go? And Davros is like,
he has the most terrifying monologue ever, basically. Where he's like, to just hold it in my hand and be able to, like, feel with just the slightest bit of pressure that I could break it and release the virus into the world, and then something that I created would have destroyed everything, and all that would be left was my own creation? Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think it throws the Doctor, too. And he's like, wait, what?
I think he kind of expected somebody he could reason with.
Yeah.
And instead only got, pure power-hungry madness and did not know what to do with that at all. There's a similar scene in, one of the times the Doctor goes to Atlantis. The scientist just wants to destroy the whole world, and the Doctor's like, quick question, why? And he's like, 'cause of science! Because
he calls it the ultimate science.
Yeah, and the Doctor's like, so you're just mad. Okay, noted, got it, okay.
Remember, that was the Underwater Menace.
Yes.
Zarkov. He was like the first mad scientist on this show. Like, I want to rule the world! Sort of like over-the-top villain. I loved him. He was silly. This guy...
This is terrifying.
This is terrifying. The Doctor gets up and grabs him and turns his life support off and back on.
It's really tense. I mean, because basically, he's ordering him to do what? I don't remember.
To destroy the incubators, the things that are evolving the Daleks.
And the doctor's like, I won't turn it back on until you do. And Davros is like, trying to call his bluff. It's really dark for the doctor to basically just like...
threaten a life like that?
Yeah.
He's like, order the destruction, and the Davros does. He like gets on his little speaker thing and says, hey, guys, go turn off the incubators.
He says that, and then...
Niter shows up and stops the doctor.
Yeah, basically just gets back on the intercom and was like, ignore that last part! That was fake news. Please keep doing what you were doing.
Then, Daleks attack the Thals, burn down the city. It's intense. Okay, I think what happens is, and I could be wrong because my notes are confusing, Niter gives the doctor, basically, to a guard, but the guard is Harry. So he effectively, accidentally rescues him. And then the doctor sort of fills Harry in on what's going on. And then some fights happen, because Harry and Sarah Jane and the scientists have all busted out and are, like, taking out the guards and stuff. And the scientists are winning! Hooray! They're kind of good guys now, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Davros has suspenders? Oh, surrender. That makes more sense.
Not a whole lot more. I don't remember any of this.
Davros surrenders.
Davros surrenders?
Yeah.
But it's a ploy.
That is what your notes say.
That is what my notes say. I don't remember what the ploy is. But the doctor makes his way...
he surrenders. He gets all the scientists are, like, there in the room. And then, like, once they all put their guns down because he surrendered, the Daleks come out and just exterminate everybody. And
the doctor gets to where they took his time ring, which I've, in my notes, have labeled the lost and found. And he's trying to find the time ring. They also get some explosives and detonators, and the doctor's like, I'm gonna go do a genocide. I'm gonna go blow up the incubators.
I do like that. So we're about 5 episodes in, and I kind of throughout the serial, the doctor is talking about the moral dilemma of this. And his preferred method of dealing with this is to convince the Khalids that, like, this evolution for them isn't right. So he's been doing a lot of trying to reason with people, saying, you know, he's removing empathy and compassion and all these really important things, and is that really what you want for your future? And I've seen these things in the future. They're killing machines, and it's not great. And just trying so hard to use, like, reason to convince people to not let this, you know, not let the Daleks happen. And this is sort of the first time where he's like, okay, well, I'm running out of time, and here's this other obvious solution that I was really, really hoping I wasn't going to have to do.
But in the meantime, the Khalids are also having the same conversation with Davros. They're like, we're not cool with this either. We are cool with evolving the Daleks, but not the way you're doing it. We don't want them to not be... We basically don't want them to be evil. So we're cool with working with you.
They give them a very fair deal to be like...
We'll do this with you.
If you just knock it off, we'll just pretend like this never happened.
Yeah, you can evolve them and make the Daleks. Just make them less evil. We're fine with that. Do you want to do that?
He's like, nah, I want to straight up murder everybody. So he does.
He actually says he's going to do it, but it's a big old lie because he's not trustworthy. Well, what he says is that I accept your ultimatum, which is like, you either do that or we get rid of you. And he's like, but I want to have a vote on it. So we need to have a meeting, and then we'll have a vote on it. That's the only way I'll agree to this ultimatum. But the doctor, meanwhile, has gotten to the incubators, is planting the explosives.
Oh, when they get the explosive, by the way, is when Sarah Jane gets her cute outfit. That's all.
That's important.
It is. It is.
Those pants are cute.
The doctor plants the explosives in the room. We hear the screaming of the Daleks in there, too. It's just like... That's terrifying. Like, Harry and Sarah Jane, I think, are waiting outside. Then the doctor comes out of the room, and he's got a Dalek tentacle, like, wrapped around him. And that's the cliffhanger.
I think I said...
If John Pertwee was doing it, his eyes would be bugging out.
Yeah, this scene is very reminiscent of the Pertwee scene where he's fighting some sort of tentacle, and it's almost bizarre to me. It's the kind of thing of, like, Doctor Who as a show contains so much that, like, it's parallel to that scene, and that scene's so goofy and so fun and so silly, and this scene is just terrifying. Like, it's just pretty legitimately scary.
So that was the end of episode 5. We're now into episode 6, which I've called Crossed Wires.
Because this is the episode where it happens.
So Sarah, Jane, and Harry pull the Dalek off of him and they save him. And the doctor has a moral dilemma. He's got the 2 wires. He's holding them up. And if I put them together, I will kill the Daleks. I'll stop the Daleks.
Which is what he was sent there to do from the Time Lords. I mean, he's been there firsthand to see how awful they are. And he has one of the best lines in Doctor Who history. He says, "Do I have the right?" It's kind of interesting to have Sarah Jane there as the companion, arguing like, "Yeah, you do. Just like do it." Like he's like, I don't think I do.
Does that make me? That makes me just as bad as them.
Yeah, and Sarah Jane's like, no, it doesn't. Like, think of all the people you'll save. Think of all the suffering you could end right here before it starts.
I don't like that he uses that excuse all the time. That'll make me just as bad as they are. I'm tired of hearing it.
Do you fall more on the Sarah Jane argument?
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it. Well, he also has this weird thing. He's like, if I let them live, well, he's like, so many people's lives have been affected by the Daleks, and sometimes it has led them to doing great things, like in fighting the Daleks.
Alliances between worlds because they're afraid of the Daleks.
Yeah, he's like, and that's a good thing. So if I kill the Daleks, am I stopping that too? I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that's a good enough reason to let Nazis exist. Kill baby Hitler, right? That's what you do. But one of the leader Collets comes in and is like, "Hey, we're having a meeting. Davros says he's not going to be a dick."
He basically comes in and is like, "Don't worry about it. The Daleks are over."
He's like, Davros has changed his ways. And the doctor's like, "Ooh, phew," and puts the
He
wires
literally has
down.
the 2 wires, sweating bullets, and he's just like, "You have no idea how happy I am to hear you say that. Great."
My favorite decision to make is not making a decision. And Davros sort of pleads his case to everybody and says that he has this big red button. He's like, "This will destroy everything. It'll blow everything up except for this room. And then we'll be the only ones who survive. Won't that be great? When do you guys do it?" And I'm like, "No, that's bad." And he's like, "Cowards." Calls them cowards because they won't destroy everything. Davros is weird, man. And a little dramatic that he has a giant red self-destruct button. And that is where we realized that we didn't realize, actually, that...
No, we just kept on fucking going.
The microphone had come unplugged and didn't record any more of the podcast. Layne has already left, and we don't really have time to schedule another session to finish this up. So we're just gonna recap what we previously talked about that didn't get recorded. Sorry, Layne, for destroying the rest of your audio. That was our bad.
Our apologies for being the worst.
I can go ahead and give you her final thoughts. She liked it. I remember she said she really liked it. She likes the Daleks. She wishes they could be in every serial. That'd be cool with her. Something like that.
Yeah, that was the gist of it.
I'm paraphrasing, but that's what happened. So, but we're gonna pick up where we left off and finish up the recap of the last episode. So, Davros is doing his whole spiel. He's got a secret plan. The Daleks are coming, but also so is Severin, the Muto, and his group, and the Thal. They're all coming too, and they set up explosives around the bunker, and the Thal is just ready to blow it up, but Severin's like, "Hold on, I need to go in, and I got friends in there." And she's like, "All right, fine, but I'm not giving you a lot of time. Go get them. If you don't come back within 10 minutes, I'm blowing this place up." So Severin goes in to save Team TARDIS. Meanwhile, Team TARDIS bumped into Niter, who has snuck out of the conference to go do nefarious deeds. And Team TARDIS finds him, and then they have a bit of a fight, and the Doctor loses his time ring. Falls off, but they eventually defeat Niter, and he's just like, "I was just trying to get away." Sarah Jane's like, "That's bullshit.
We're not going to fall for that again."
You could have joined the other team, the Thals or whatever, but no, or, the good guys. You don't have to run away. And they force him to take him to the tape that the Doctor recorded that has all the history, that he said about the Daleks, the future history. And it's in this really cool eyeball safe. It's like shaped like an eyeball. It's really cool. And as Layne pointed out...
It's very quiet.
It's very quiet. It opens and it doesn't make a noise. It doesn't squeak or anything. I did not notice that. That is entirely a Layne fact. They get the tape and they're like, we need to destroy it. What should we destroy it with? And there is the Dalek gun is there. So the Doctor shoots it destroys it with the Dalek gun. Fitting, right? Destroyed by its own thing. I don't know.
It's very poetic.
While they're doing that, Nider leaves and locks them in the room. And they're like, oh well, we've got the time ring. Let's just leave. Oh wait, I don't have the time ring. I don't know what happened to it. It must have slapped right off my arm. Unslapped bracelet.
It must have just gone on and unslapped.
The Doctor tries to sonic the door, but he's like, it's not sonicable. Doesn't really give a reason. He just says, can't sonic it.
Yeah. They don't even try to be like, it's wood, I can't do wood. Here's the reason why it doesn't work. Just like, doesn't work. No lampshade.
And then, conveniently, a television screen comes on and shows the debate between Davros and the Council. Well, there's no real reason for that other than to give the Doctor the exposition. He's watching the episode with us! It's fun. But then the Daleks come in and start killing everyone. And then Severin finds the Doctor in them and opens the door and lets them out. The Doctor finds the time ring. They're like, we need to get out, but there's so many Daleks. We need to take care of the Daleks before we leave. So the Doctor's like, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to put the little wires together and I'm going to blow up the incubators. Right? Goes there, but he gets stopped by the Daleks. And then a Dalek just rolls over the wires and connects them and blows up the incubators.
It kind of does it for him.
Destroyed by its own thing.
You're just going to run with it then?
It's an ongoing gag in this repeat adventure here. Our reconstruction. But I guess there's still Daleks, so they're not thoroughly defeated. But because then that's the next thing is the Dalek in the room with Davros. The production line of the Daleks has started. Like, they've been putting the things in the cases and stuff. And Davros is like, hey, I didn't say you could do that. And the Dalek's like, don't care. Fuck you. I do what I want. And then, like, flips him the bird with its plunger. I don't know how it would do that. Basically says, the Dalek says it will not obey Davros. Because
to the Dalek, Davros is just an inferior being, like any other inferior being.
It's being a little rebellious teenager. And Nider runs over and tries to turn it off, but he is exterminated. Meanwhile, the Doctor rushes out of the door. The thaw blows the place up, sealing them in. The Doctor says that he has delayed them, not defeated them.
Yeah, he says he's only really put them back by about 1,000 years.
Because they're still there and there is still the production line. But they did blow up. They locked him in, for one. They blew up the bunker, but they also blew up the incubators.
Yeah, but there's a good chunk of Daleks who already sort of exist and are, working on getting out of there and making more Daleks. You know, what Daleks do.
The Daleks threaten Davros, and Davros asks for pity, but that is something that Dalek doesn't know or understand. It's not a
They have no concept of pity, and it's his fault. So, way to go, Davros.
And then starts exterminating all the Khalids, and Davros reaches for that big red total destruct button, but is also exterminated.
Yeah, I was a little bit shocked by that.
Because I know he comes back.
I feel like...
It's just another prequel.
I feel like we've seen him after this. I mean, they don't show it.
Yeah, that's what Layne said, is like, well, you don't actually see it.
And everyone knows if it happens off screen, it might not stick.
Then it just kind of... It ends, really.
Yeah, very abruptly.
Like, everybody, has this, nice, well, we did the thing, goodbye! And everyone leaves. And then the Doctor and Sarah Jane and Harry all grab onto the time ring and then, spin off into space.
Spiral away into space.
As the Doctor does that thing that I was talking about earlier about, it could lead to good things. Because they're like, what? We didn't really destroy the Daleks. And he's like, yeah, but it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a mark of my lack of optimism that I'm just not on the same page with the Doctor. That, the end feels kind of it's probably fine. Instead of well, I know some good will come of it. Then I'm just like, if you say so. It doesn't feel real good.
I also feel like it's oddly paced and edited, and I don't know, because they blow up the bunker and they lock them in, but at the same time, Davros and the Daleks don't seem to care that much.
I mean, Davros cares.
Yeah.
On account of he's dead.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like they're like, oh no, we have to get out. They just kind of like, we're gonna do stuff. We've got the production line started and da-da-da-da-da. It doesn't seem like they are that concerned about that particular... the thing that the Doctor and everybody does to stop them. It just feels like the Daleks didn't get stopped. I don't know, it feels like the Doctor just like, well, good enough, and leaves. And it's like, it feels unresolved in a way, to me.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's the end of the serial.
We did an episode.
We did it again. We did it a second time.
We gonna take a break?
Yep, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back for our final thoughts. I already gave you Layne's, so you already got that. So, but hey, listen to an ad.
Do you like movies? Do you like TV?
Do you like discussing the temporal effects of non-linear time travel and its implication on the plot of the movie Looper?
Okay. Do you enjoy the latest in pop culture news? Do you enjoy superheroes?
Do you enjoy discussing the relative merits of superpowers and their effects on human physiology?
Anyways, if you enjoy these things, even a small amount, you'll love the Rusted Robot Podcast.
Find us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, YouTube, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Subscribe, so you never miss an episode.
therustedrobot.podbean.com.
Do you like movies? Well, let me make you an offer that you can't refuse. Have you ever found yourself standing at the local Cineplex with that smell of freshly buttered popcorn wafting through your nostrils, wondering if that new Hugh Jackman movie is really worth your time? Or have you ever lamented about that time you spent scouring the vast expanse of the internet for movie and DVD release dates when, let's be honest, you'd rather be leveling up your troll hunter, working on the great American novel, or even watching kitten videos? Oh yes, I said kitten videos. I will do the work for you. All I ask is 15 to 30 minutes of your time every Tuesday. My name is Michael Faulkner, and every Tuesday is showtime at the Weekly Podioplex, your audio guide to what's new at the box office, how the top 10 fared over the weekend, and what's coming to your home theater on DVD and Blu-ray. You can find the Weekly Podioplex on the Chronic Riff Network at www.chronicriff.com, along with a plethora of other podcasts that explore the culture in pop culture. The Weekly Podioplex, brought to you by the Chronic Riff. Thanks for listening. We'll see you at the theater.
And we're back.
Welcome back.
Do you know what time it is again?
It's a little bit past 9. I'm going to say 9:25.
Yes. Nope, 9:52. Oh shit, this is later.
It's backwards.
What time is it really?
It is Thursday.
That's a day. Also a time, I guess. It's time for final thoughts.
You didn't let me say springtime.
We're not doing we have to do it word for word.
We have to do the whole bit, or else I'm walking out of here.
All right, okay. Thursday is a day. It's not really a time. Oh, I guess it's a time.
It's springtime.
It's time for final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
As previously mentioned, Layne really liked it. She thinks it's one of the better Dalek serials. And now, Toni, you do your final thoughts.
Yeah, so one of the things that Layne said that we unfortunately
deleted
lost
from existence.
forever.
We blew it up like it was a Dalek tape of the future history.
If the Daleks were in every single episode from now to the end of time, she'd be happy as a giant clam.
She didn't say that. She didn't say...
Okay, she didn't say the thing about the clam.
I was also like, hey, but didn't you say you would destroy them all? And she's like, well, if I was personally in that situation, she would. But as a character on a fictional program, she enjoys it.
Yes. I do not share that view exactly. I do really enjoy the Daleks, obviously. They're usually great fun. I think sometimes in more eras than others, I think the show has a tendency to lean a little heavy on them. It's the kind of thing where sometimes you'll be like, Dalek episode, Dalek episode, Dalek episode, and you're like, okay, take a break from them for a little bit. Then you can bring them back and they'll be scary and cool and awesome. I just think sometimes, like I said, in some areas more than others, they can have a tendency to be overused, particularly because as villains they're fun, but they are just sort of straight up bad guys. And even as fun as that is, and as, you know, interesting of this idea of this like life form that hates all other life forms and is thinks it's the superior life form and wants to destroy everything else, it doesn't leave a lot of room to tell stories with nuance sometimes. Or not stories, because they're, like I think I previously said, there are a lot of really good Dalek stories that are nuanced, but as villains, they themselves are not, obviously. Which is why I really appreciated the introduction of Davros in this. It also is really tiresome to hear exposition given in, like, Dalek voices. Part of the thing about the Daleks is, like, they don't have emotions, and they don't have, you know, inflections when they talk. They have one mode, and that's angry trash bin. And so it's nice to have a character kind of be like the mouthpiece for these Daleks and not have to hear, you know, level 10 angry trash bin, like, give you exposition or talking to each other, counting down from 30 or anything like that. You know, Davros and the Khaleds and the Thals all sort of let you tell a more morally gray story. We've talked before about how I really like the Ice Warriors because they're not just bad guys. You know, they're people who are sometimes against you and sometimes for you, and they're just like their own entities who have their own motivations. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they somewhere in the middle? That's normally what their stories are kind of about. I thought that was what was part of what was really interesting about this story is when we first meet the Thals, like way in their future, they're sort of very sweet and innocent, and they're fighting the Daleks who are bad and evil. Whereas at this point in history, the Thals aren't great. You know, the things that they are doing are shitty. And the Khaleds aren't great. The things they are doing are shitty. But there's a group of them who are like, this isn't, you know, the Daleks, not a great idea. And I think it's an interesting story about how people aren't their best when they're at war. And that sometimes allows for, like, an even greater evil to exist. I do think when we do the Sweet 16s, it was really obvious when we were doing last season that, like, Inferno was going to go all the way to the end. It was really obvious for us that Dinosaurs was going to go all the way to the end. This is definitely a serial that's, like, so strong and so iconic. Like, definitely when we do our Sweet 16, it's going to be a top episode.
I don't know. There's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's a bunch of seasons.
But I feel like, I mean, before we had watched this, I was aware of that, you know, that whole wires in the hand, do I have the right scene, because it's so iconic. And the fourth Doctor era is not an era I'm super familiar with, but, like, that is something, that is, like, a moment that I was aware of, because it's great, you know? It asks a lot of really interesting questions, so I think it's just a really, really solid serial that is going to hold up when we get through our season.
I'll definitely say it's the best serial we've had so far this season, which it feels like a finale, but it's not. The next one's the finale, and it's only a 4-parter. And this is a 6-parter, and I usually have problems with 6-parters, but I feel like this one was well-paced. It had a lot to say, and it did it well. I'm like a big fan of Davros. I feel like Davros was a great idea. Because, God, the past few Dalek serials have just been a repeat of the original Dalek serial.
Kudos, by the way, to the person who looked at Terry Nation and was like, hey, maybe try something new, and, like, suggested the idea of the genesis of the Daleks, because this serial is so much better for it. Thank you.
It's so much more interesting. It's not the same thing over and over again. It's adding new depth and new twists and new, you know, information. It's building, it's world building, basically. You know, it expanded the Daleks, expanded Doctor Who, because we got Davros now, and, you know, more about Skaro and its history, instead of just Daleks show up, make some slaves, exterminate, the end. It's more intriguing and interesting. And yeah, I really do like Davros because the Daleks are so singularly focused, and I don't want to say monotonous, but they're focused. They have one goal. They're not somebody who's like, what's their motivation? Is it this? You know. Yeah. Exterminate, kill all things, and rule. And that doesn't lend itself to a lot of variety. So introducing Davros as this more emotional character who's sometimes very calm and relaxed and evil, but then, like, gets angry and becomes more Dalek-like. That's more interesting. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Everything about this serial just is good. It works so well. The only thing I can think of that I didn't really think worked very well was the clams.
There's something about the clams that I kind of really enjoy, though.
Because they're bigger than they should be?
No, it's just like on a pure cheesiness level. Like, I appreciate that in, like, this serial, which was so almost...
It's a lot more
draining
violent
to watch, you know? It's almost harrowing with, like, the moral decisions, and things are rough here. People are dying all over the place. I appreciate that in the middle of that is like just this big, dumb clam. I appreciate it for existing in that way.
But yeah, all in all, it's a good cereal. I liked it. Good job, show. So at this point, I asked Layne if she wanted to plug anything. You guys should check her out. She's part of the North Georgia Roller Girls.
North Georgia Roller Girls, which
is on Facebook.
I'm also a part of, I guess.
You're not on the team, but
not
you're
on
practicing.
The team, but I practice with them. She is Lexx Terminate. That's Lexx with 2 X's.
Terminate with 1 terminate.
You can find her on Facebook. You can find the North Georgia Roller Girls on Facebook.
You can find us on Facebook. You can find whatever you're looking for on Facebook.
There are pictures of me playing derby.
Playing derby or just standing in a group photo?
Oh, just standing in a group photo.
Please continue to send in your derby names for Toni.
Yeah, I've got a lot of work to do. I have a list of names. I'm narrowing them down. Right now, Crypt Kid is getting the most positive feedback.
And Cheapskate.
Yeah, and Cheapskate. I really like Forward Power. I think Forward Power is great. I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
I also want to quickly mention again, we mentioned it last week, we're going to be doing, probably mostly me, going to be doing a sort of spin-off podcast for the ESO Network's Patreon, which you can get to by going to patreon.com/ESO Network. We're going to be doing little mini podcast episodes about all the spin-off stuff. The comic books, the annuals, the novelizations, the backs of trading cards, what have you. And that's going to go up on their Patreon, and then we'll go up a week later on our Patreon. Because we don't want to exclude you guys, because you've stuck around and you're awesome.
You're important to us.
If you liked this episode, you can check out more on Watch-A-Rassilon.com, and be sure to rate and comment on our iTunes. It's very helpful. It gets us up in the rankings and stuff. It does iTunes magic.
And it helps us be seen by more people. And then when more people see us, you have more people to be like, hey, did you listen to that episode of the Watch-A-Thon of Rassilon and hear Joe say that dumb thing? That was great.
That's a good cycle. If you'd like to help us out even more, you can go to watchrassilon.com/support, and there you'll find a link to our Patreon page, which you can get to just by going to patreon.com/watchathon, and there you can donate a monthly amount to get all kinds of rewards, like day early episodes, uncut video of the podcast records, bonus podcast episodes, and live streams. Also on our support page is a link to our Amazon wish list, where you can sponsor an episode of the podcast by purchasing the corresponding cereal on DVD for us. We'll mention you in the podcast to put your name on our Friends of Rassilon page. Speaking of, special thanks again to Matt Golden for sponsoring this episode.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
You can follow him on Tumblr at mgoldentumbles.tumblr.com. And tune in next time when we talk about Revenge of the Cybermen with Brian Snape.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, that's the full title. Coincidentally, Brian Snape's going to be on it too. From my favorite Doctor Who podcast other than our own, Harry Sullivan is an Imbecile. But you guys should check that out. It's good stuff. I've listened to every episode. Quiz me on it. I'll prove it. But thanks for listening. Keep calm and wrestle on.
Goodbye forever, and I love you.
Layne also said bye.
Just touch these 2 strands together, and the Daleks are finished. Have I that right?
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping through Amazon.com or the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.